How did he look in practice, and how soon do you think you can get him integrated into the offense?
He looked good. He's very familiar with a couple things that we'll ask our running backs to do, and he's obviously had a lot of success throughout the course of his career, and he did a good job picking up a couple little things that we did with him, and we're looking forward to seeing if he's going to be ready to go on Sunday.
Playbook, or is it a question of like De La Puente just kind of getting him back into game shape? It's been a while.
I think it'd be more just a question of getting familiar with some of the things we'll ask him to do assignment-wise, which he showed he's capable of picking it up very quickly, and if that's the case, then he'll be ready to roll.
Bears have some familiar faces on their defense. Tracy Porter's had a good year. Jarvis Jenkins is doing a good job for him. What, if any, background do you use for them when you're scouting this week leading up to the game?
Yeah, two players that I have a lot of respect for. Talking about Tracy, he's definitely done a great job. Excellent ball skills. You could always feel his presence at practice. Thought he was always a really good instinctual player, recognized his route concepts, and he's doing a lot of nice things for him. And Jarvis has been very active on their front. He's been a key contributor for what they've been able to do defensively, and I have a ton of respect for Coach Fangio, and I think they're an excellent defense.
Sean, last game seemed like there was more. You guys went to a more in kind of the not just deep, a little more intermediate. Was that a point of emphasis, or is it just how the opportunities opened up for them?
Yeah, they played a little bit more zone than we expected, so they were kind of playing things deep to short. We did have a couple opportunities where we had some downfield throws that we didn't get a chance to get to those, but they did play a little bit more zone than we expected, so it kind of limited some of those shot plays that we were trying to get to, and they did a nice job.
When you can also use him in that intermediate game, how much does it help you guys for that versatility?
Oh, it's very important. Anytime that you have the ability to go short, intermediate, and take the top off of coverage, it makes you extremely versatile, and we feel like that's the type of player that he is, and we'll continue to try to use him in all those ways.
Back with Pierre Thomas, just his ability to catch the ball. I mean, he's done that throughout his whole career. How big is that to have a guy that can just come in and be an option on third down or any down, really, to catch the ball in the backfield?
Yeah, it's a huge asset. Anytime that you have a back that can be a weapon coming out of the backfield or be utilized in the pass game in some empty formations, you feel really good about some of the matchups that you're able to create and put the defense in some tough spots, and you can see he's a guy that was able to do that for New Orleans for a bunch of years.
We asked Jay about this the other day, but when you're calling a game, and how do you decide which running back to roll with that day? Alfred played, the first quarter, 8 snaps, and then we didn't see him again.
Well, Coach Jordan ultimately decides that, and I think he gets a feel for kind of the flow of the game, and these guys are both rhythm runners, and I feel like sometimes if you got a guy that you feel has the hot hand, you kind of let him continue to go, but like we said, earlier in the year when you're able to get a bunch of carries, you're able to be efficient with your runs, you'd like them to be able to split the carries and utilize them both, but it's just kind of a feel game based on the way the flow of the game's going.
Offensive PI calls on those wide receiver screens and stuff. How tough is it, I guess, for you to coach correctly, I guess, to what that rule is? And do you get gun shy, when you see that being called over and over and over again in the course of the game?
Yeah, it's definitely tough, and those are drive killers, and it definitely does make you a little bit more hesitant and reluctant to get to some of those plays that you feel like look good going into the week, and it's one of those deals where those blockers have to be nice and patient, and before that ball's completed, they can't be engaged, and that's something that they've made a point of emphasis, and you see it get called, and we've got to do a good job that when we do get to those plays, being patient on the perimeter and making sure that's completed before they're engaged with those defenders.
I know we've talked a little bit about, I'm sure you just in the past couple of minutes talked about Kirk throwing deep, and obviously earlier in his career he felt like he forced some things. So what are you telling him to balance those? Hey, make sure you take those shots. Don't second guess yourself. Play freely when they're there versus making sure that he doesn't force things and get picked off.
Sure. Well, each situation, we talk about the defense dictates the decision-making process as far as whatever concept's called, and then you progress accordingly. And there's some opportunities where, we feel like we could have been able to maybe go down the field a little bit, but I think he's done a nice job making good decisions, taking what the defense gives him, and, that's going to be a continued point of emphasis for him as just staying within each play at a time. That one play at a time mindset is what I think has allowed him to play at a high level, and certainly you want to be able to create some of those big plays, and we got to do a good job I've got to do a good job putting our players in those positions to have those opportunities.
It's a two-part one about Deshaun Jackson, if I could. Do you feel the offense to date has gotten the most out of his abilities when he's been available to play? And then B, do you sense, or did you sense on Monday, his frustration at not getting more shots? And do you see that as not a good thing or an understandable receiver reaction?
Yeah. Well, to answer your first part, I think Deshaun's an excellent player, and as a coach, you always strive to try to be perfect and figure out ways that you can best utilize your weapons, and that's something that I'll probably never be content with. You want to be able to use him in a variety of ways, and he is a versatile receiver. So, we're always looking for ways, and I'm always looking for ways to try to improve and put him in great situations where we can utilize, his full arsenal of talent. And as far as the frustration, he's a great competitor that wants to be involved and wants to make plays to affect the outcome of the game. And I have no problem with that. And I think, it's all comes from a good place because he's such a competitive guy that just wants to help out in any way that he can.